A deep silence filled the massive chamber of the Galactic High Council. Every species present, from the tall insect-like Kelteri to the silent, shadowy Varine, turned their eyes toward the entrance as the two Deathworlders stepped in. They moved slowly, without fear, their boots echoing against the polished floor. Something about their presence made even the bravest warriors shift uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone in the room knew where they came from. Earth, a death world ranked too dangerous for most life forms. On Earth, even the plants could kill, and the animals hunted with intelligence. But it wasn't just the planet that was dangerous. It was the people. No one really knew why these two humans were invited to the council. Some thought it was a mistake. Others believed it was a trap. But the humans didn't speak. They stood quietly near the center of the hall, eyes scanning the room like predators, sizing up prey. One of them, the man, gave a small smile. It wasn't warm. It was cold and slow, like something inside him enjoyed the fear he saw. The head of the Varine Empire, trying to show strength, leaned forward and laughed. He called the Deathworlders wild animals pretending to wear clothes. The human turned his head and replied with just one sentence. No threats, no loud voice, just calm words that cut through the air like a blade. And when he finished, half the council froze. The other half reached under their tables for hidden alarms. Something had just changed in that room, and everyone felt it. No one spoke for several seconds after the human's reply. The room felt colder, heavier, like the air itself had turned to stone. Every delegate sat stiff, trying to act calm, but their eyes kept shifting toward the two humans. The man stood with his arms behind his back, still and silent like a statue. The woman beside him hadn't blinked in minutes. She stared directly at the Kelteri general, whose smooth green skin had started to sweat. The general looked away first. That tiny moment of weakness didn't go unnoticed. The council leader, a soft-spoken creature with pale blue feathers, cleared his throat and forced a polite tone as he asked the humans why they had come. The woman slowly turned to face him. Her voice was soft, but the way she spoke made the feathers on his neck twitch. "We came for peace," she said, "but not the kind you're used to." Then, without being asked, she described the wars humans had fought on Earth. Not against aliens, but against each other. She spoke of cities turned to dust, skies black with fire, oceans poisoned with machines. She told them about children raised in war zones, about soldiers who didn't sleep because nightmares were safer than memories. The room grew quieter with every word. It didn't feel like a speech. It felt like a warning. One delegate, a veteran from 5 star system wars, looked ready to cry. Another quietly activated his emergency signal under the table. And still, the humans kept speaking. Calm, controlled, terrifying. The human man reached into his coat and pulled out a small black device. It was smooth, round, and silent, but when he placed it on the table, every security system in the room reacted. Lights blinked. Screens glitched. A soft humming filled the air. The woman placed her hand on the device and said, "This doesn't just record sound. It listens to truth." Before anyone could respond, the device began to glow faintly, and something strange happened. Thoughts, real thoughts, started to surface. The hidden ones, secrets, lies, betrayals. One by one, whispers filled the room, not through speakers, but directly into the minds of those sitting at the council. A Varine ambassador turned pale as a hidden deal with smugglers was revealed. A Kelteri general's plans to overthrow his own high command were exposed. One counselor collapsed in shock as a secret he had buried for 30 years was spoken aloud by no one. Chaos stirred. Delegates looked at each other, no longer sure who they could trust. The woman leaned in and whispered, "We're just showing you who you already are." Then the device shifted again, and this time, images appeared, live footage from Earth. Soldiers running through fire, lifting metal with their bare hands. Children solving battlefield strategy problems as if they were doing math. Massive beasts being hunted by teams of humans laughing in the storm. The man spoke softly. We build monsters because we have to fight worse. The council members sat frozen. The humans hadn't come to start war. They came to prepare for one the galaxy wasn't ready for. The room exploded into noise. Council members shouted over each other, some demanding the humans be arrested, others begging them to turn off the device. But the humans didn't move. They stood calmly, their eyes cold, their bodies still. One delegate, a tall armored warrior from the Rithan clans, charged forward in anger. He didn't make it far. Just as he stepped toward the humans, he collapsed without a single touch. He gasped on the ground, clutching his head like something had broken inside. The woman didn't even blink. His mind was too loud. The man said quietly, "We've been trained to break noise." The room went dead silent again. Now it was clear. These weren't just humans. They were something far more dangerous, enhanced, trained beyond anything the council understood. The Keltari general tried to contact his guards, but the communication screen only showed static. Security systems weren't working. Emergency locks had failed. The woman looked around and said, "You've built your walls for the wrong kind of enemy." Then the lights dimmed. Outside the council windows, the stars flickered strangely. Patterns formed in the dark, like something was moving across the edge of the galaxy. The man stepped forward and said, "You think we're the threat. We're not. We're just the warning." A chill swept through every being in the room. The fear wasn't just from the humans anymore. It was something else. Something coming. And the humans had just shown up early to make sure someone would survive. The humans stood at the center of the council floor while the lights above flickered, casting long shadows across the terrified faces around them. The woman stepped forward and spoke in a calm voice that didn't match the fear in the room. "We've seen what's coming," she said, "and it doesn't care about your power, your weapons, or your treaties." Then the device on the table showed a new image, something massive moving through a dark region of space, beyond charted systems. It was not a ship. It didn't have engines or metal. It was alive. A shadow made of shifting shapes, feeding on light, sound, even thought. The footage showed a distant colony being wiped out without fire or noise. Just silence, spreading like a disease. The council gasped. The Rithan ambassador dropped his staff. The Virene emperor looked pale for the first time in his long life. The human man said, "We fought it once. We barely survived. And Earth isn't safe anymore." The woman continued, "It's coming here. It already touched your systems. That's why your defenses failed." Then the stars outside twisted again, and alarms began to flash red across the council walls. Some members began shouting for evacuation. Others pleaded for answers. The humans waited. When the noise stopped, the man spoke. "You invited us too late, but not too late to fight back." He looked around the room, his voice quiet but steady. "You have one chance now. Follow us, or fall alone." No one laughed. No one argued. Fear had become understanding, and the galaxy had only moments left to choose. The council chamber was no longer filled with arguments. Silence ruled now, heavy and suffocating. One by one, the delegates looked at each other, then turned to the humans. The fear they once felt had shifted into something else. Respect. The Virene emperor stood and lowered his head. The Keltari general saluted. Quietly, without ceremony, the council handed over full control of galactic defense to the two Deathworlders. The humans didn't waste time. Within the hour, they had taken command of every military outpost, rerouted fleets, and activated ancient satellites left forgotten on the edges of space. Orders were sent out in perfect sync. Some species tried to resist, clinging to pride, but their systems failed under the shadow's touch. And then they listened. The humans knew exactly what to do. Earth's ships arrived, moving like wolves in formation, escorting council fleets into new positions. A barrier of weapons and traps began to form around the galaxy's core systems, And when the enemy finally arrived, it found something unexpected. Not fear, not confusion, but resistance. For the first time, the shadow met fire. The human stood at the center of it all, commanding fleets, directing battles, never resting. The war had begun, but the galaxy was no longer weak. They had learned what it meant to survive like Deathworlders. And now, every race understood one simple truth. When Deathworlders walk into a room, you don't question them. You don't threaten them. You follow them, because they're the ones who walk into nightmares and come out alive.